Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Cooperative Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
And the program is Everything Cooperative. It's brought to you by the National Cooperative Bank. NCB has been our sponsor for 7 years. They've been excellent sponsors. They have really helped us not only with financials, but also with ideas of what we can do. And today we have Capital Impact Partners on today with ChiFresh. Alison Powers from Capital Impact Partners and Camille Kerr from ChiFresh out of Chicago, Chi-Town. Allison, can you tell us what Capital Impact is?
Sure. Thanks, Vernon. So Capital Impact Partners is a CDFI, or Community Development Financial Institution. And for those of you who don't know that jargon, CDFIs are financial institutions that are dedicated to delivering responsible, affordable lending to historically disinvested communities. And Capital Impact has dispersed over $2.7 billion since 1982, so we're one of the largest CDFIs in the country. And over $300 million of those dollars have gone directly to finance cooperatives over the years. We actually started as part of the National Cooperative Bank. Before we became a CDFI, we like to say that co-ops are part of our DNA or in our roots of our organization.
So you started out at NCB, and then you branched out on your own as a CDFI. Mm-hmm. $2.7 billion. I don't even know how many zeros that is. Billions I got. That's 6 zeros. I guess that's 9 zeros. 2.7 and 8 zeros after that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Since 1982. So what do you do at CDFI, Allison?
So CDFIs, we're not only lenders, we also have programmatic arms. Every CDFI is required to do some sort of technical assistance, program policy. And so I am on the programmatic and strategy team. I actually have a background in affordable housing cooperatives. And so my main job is to really build out our work around cooperative development and think about the ways that a CDFI like ours can be a bridge between co-ops and other CDFIs, foundations. What role can we play in the space? And I'd also like to add that beyond co-ops, Capital Impact also works in affordable housing, aging, education, healthcare, and food access. So we have a pretty wide portfolio.
So are you open to getting calls from people or emails from people that may be looking for help, technical help or financial help in those spaces?
Oh, yeah. We get calls a lot. Usually, we're not a direct technical assistance provider in the way where we are going to help a group that is forming a food co-op through all of the steps and the pro forma and the, analysis. But I certainly talk to people on a weekly basis that are at various forms of development, mainly in food, worker, and housing cooperatives. Those are really the sectors that we focus on. It's connecting them to partners. It's suggesting, grant funding they might go after. And if the fit is right, it could be passing them on to our lending department and seeing if they're a fit for financing. Although I will say we tend to finance some of the larger deals that have some sort of real estate component. So most of our lending is done in either affordable housing or food cooperatives.
So if somebody that's listening out there wanted to get in contact with you or Capital Impact, how would they do that?
They could just shoot me an email at apowers@capitalimpact.org. I'll get back to you.
APOWERS.
Yes, at capitalimpact.org. And, I will say that we are aware that because we can only finance some of these larger deals, but we really want to support work throughout the ecosystem, particularly with a focus on racial equity. We've really been rethinking some of our strategy around co-ops during the past 5 or 6 years, especially when our newish CEO, Alice Carr, came on about 4 years ago to replace Terry Simonette. And I believe you've had both of them on your program before. And
I have, and they were excellent, both of them. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They're both great. And, Alice has we really thought a lot about our deeper focus around racial equity and bridging the racial wealth gap. So that's really the lens we see our cooperative work in, job quality, building assets, thinking about culturally competent technical assistance in the communities we serve. And this was one of the reasons we wanted to do the Co-op Innovation Award, was really thinking about what are ways that we could support some of those, smaller, innovative, amazing projects that are going on all throughout the country that oftentimes have a hard time getting funding for various reasons, including a lot of funders don't understand the cooperative model.
So you started that when, the Cooperative Innovation Award?
So this is our 6th year.
6th year?
Yeah, so it started in 2015.
So you started looking at racial inequality and the racial wealth gap. And that wealth gap is for an average white family in America, they have a wealth of $170,000. And the average black family has $17,000, 1/10 of the wealth. And that's because of a lot of the racism that has happened throughout the 400 years or so. So you started this long before the George Floyd death. You were looking into this issue.
Oh, yeah. Capital Impact has really been thinking about this work for years, and we don't only think about it in terms of our externally facing work, but also internally. Who do we hire? What are our practices? What vendors do we work with? For us, it's really a process. We're trying to be leaders within the CDFI community, and we know we're just starting on the journey, and we have a lot of work to do, but we've been trying to intentionally do that work for many years. And we look at cooperative development as one of the tools that can be in the toolkit of some of the communities we serve. It's not the only thing, but it's a great thing, and it's underutilized, and people don't know about it, which is one of the reasons that every year we have a bit of a different focus of the award. And this year, working with the National Cooperative Bank, our focus was accessing new audiences.
Accessing new audiences, and you've been Capital Partners have been around, Capital Impact Partners, for 38 years. And you've had this award for 6 years, and you're looking at racial equity, racial wealth gap, and I applaud you, because we, as seen by COVID and with George Floyd's death, this racism is huge in our culture, to the point that a lot of people don't even know that they are being racist. They may have white supremacy leanings, they don't even know it. And there's systemic racism throughout our culture, which I've been dealing with. An African American I am, and so I've been dealing with this all of my life, and I see a lot of it. I don't see all of it. And I really appreciate and applaud Capital Impact Partners for what you guys are doing. So tell me now about this award, this Cooperative Innovative Award, looking for new people, new spaces.
Yeah, so when, our goal has always been to encourage growth and development in communities of color or historically disinvested communities. And by that, we mean just communities that have been impacted by any of these historical structures or, systemic racism. I know that's a lot in the cultural dialogue right now, redlining and systems like that. So this award is meant to be catalytic capital. So it's seed funding for projects that might not have gotten a lot of funding yet, but there's a lot of potential. And so we see ourselves as validators, and we can really help amplify these partners and hopefully attract more funders to the space. We see it more as a partnership than a grant. We're not a foundation, so it's not our job to give grants, but it is our job to seek out partners and see how we can really push the space forward. We're also want to support projects that are really informed by community and that are giving culturally relevant co-op services. And I will say that I'm in contact with the partners over the years, and since 2015, the 9 grantees, so not including the folks that we just granted to this year, but the 9 grantees of the first 5 years leveraged their awards, which totaled $300,000, to secure more than $3.5 million in additional funding. And that funding has come from foundations, investors, local government. So we do see that some of these initial dollars, while they have been small, usually the grants are $25,000 to $50,000, that we try to be the first ones in the door, and then hopefully other people follow with larger multi-year commitments.
So they basically have been able to multiply what you all give them by 12 times. I just did my quick math. That's phenomenal. So ChiFresh is one of the groups that won the award today, and we have Camille on with us today. Why did you choose them? What about their program caused you to say, hey, we want to make a donation to you guys, a grant?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, we were really impressed with the way they jumped into COVID and really found their niche, even though they were a relatively new business. They really did it with so much intentionality. They sought out good partners, both locally and nationally. Their project is really designed for scale and replication, which is something that we always look for in projects. And we really felt like the Chicago ecosystem is growing and blossoming. There's some local government support. The goals that they set out were really clear and measurable, and it just seemed like they were just about to launch and ready to go, and hopefully we could be validators for the project. And, we knew there was a certain amount of risk being a startup in COVID, but there was so much, their plan and their community roots were so strong. We just felt a lot of confidence, and they've already taken off since we've made the decision. So we're really happy with that choice.
Do you feel comfortable saying how much the award was?
Yes, it was $50,000.
Say it a little bit louder. That sounds great. That sounds great. A little bit louder. Okay. $50,000 award. 50.
Yes.
Oh, they can. Yes. That is wonderful. That's a wonderful way to get started. So you really like what they were doing since. Yeah.
It was unanimous with our review team.
And how many people on your review team?
There was 7, and it was a mix of people from Capital Impact and the National Cooperative Bank. And we try to be very, we have a scoring system, and we have 2 application rounds, and try to be very, very intentional about it, but still leave a lot of room for discussion. And I also want to say that if Co-op Innovation Award, the request for applications usually goes out in January. So if there's any organizations out there that want to be informed of when the next award will drop in 2021, just sign up for any of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, anything, and you'll get the notification.
So they can sign up. Can they go to capitalimpactpartners.org and get that information too?
Yeah, capitalimpact.org.
So you can go to their webpage and get that information if you would like to, or look at any of their social media. Okay.
Exactly.
So I'm working with a group in Baltimore to start some housing, and they are looking for some worker co-ops. And this model might be one. I've already told them about this model, by the way, when I read about it in NCBA's weekly newsletter, e-newsletter. So they might be coming out. So, yeah, it would be great if they would contact you guys about that funding and maybe contact Camille. So, Camille, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us on here. I'm so excited to be on.
Thank you for joining us this morning. How did you guys feel when you got this $50,000 award?
Oh, Allison got to hear the whole reaction. I was like, because it was one of those ones where it's like, okay, in a couple of days we'll let you know if you got it. And she's always so professional, like, I can't let you know how it's going or anything, but we will as soon as the committee. And so when she called us to let us know, I went in the kitchen. It was the day I was in the kitchen. We have our own kitchen, private kitchen, and a shared kitchen incubator space. And so I went in the kitchen. I was like, somebody has something to tell you. And I held up the phone, and Allison let the team know that we had gotten the $50,000 award. And I think people heard us outside the building. This is like a sealed building, because everybody was like, because it was our first, besides my personal investment in the building, it was our first grant. We were going off of hope and a prayer, that we could launch in the middle of COVID. We were just doing a few meals off of donations that we had received. So, like, to get the buffer to be like, okay, we can make payroll for for the next few weeks and figure out our plan and look for other sources of revenue in the next little while. That it was a huge relief for me personally, just like that we had the resources to keep moving, and our team was just overjoyed. It was that first, like Allison was saying, that first validation of them being like, okay, it's not just like us alone made up in the corner. Like, no, we're doing this. We're part of this and this co-op space, and we're gonna make it. So it was. Not, it's a business, it's insecure constantly and forever, but that moment was one where it's like, okay, like, you live off of those moments of hope that we're going to keep growing, keep moving forward and succeed in our space. So it really, it was a really critical moment for us.
So, I just put myself in that space on the outside of that building, and I heard people cheering and laughing and jumping up and down and dancing. Was that the space? Was that what it looked like when you all heard?
Yeah, it was pretty loud. So we got our kitchen is like, it's just like 500 or 600 square feet, our own space, the whole building. We're out of this place called the Hatchery, and it's like a kitchen incubator, but they have private kitchens for companies that are trying to get launched. And so it was like, we're inside our little kitchen, inside this bigger building, and I swear you still could have heard us on the outside of it, because it was it was so excited. Yeah.
So how many people?
That was a good day.
That was
really great. Yeah.
So it kind of made you feel good too?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I emailed everybody who had been involved with the award and just said, this is it. This is the reward. This is the dessert. This is the best part. It was really great. Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah.
So, Camille, how many people are on your team?
So the ChiFresh member owners, who are who govern 100% of the business, there's 5 worker owners. They're all formerly incarcerated, primarily Black women. There's one guy, and then we have a chef consultant who has managed a kitchen so that we could make sure we had that expertise in the room, and also a Black woman. And then, I show up sometimes, but they kicked me out of the kitchen after like week 1. They were like, you can help us with the other stuff, but we don't need you in here. So I show up and do the other, and do, my firm, so I have a consulting firm called Upside Down Consulting, and we do some of the management consulting for them. So like grants and partnerships and some of the finance management and sales and stuff like that. But I'm not often. I was helping out week one, and they were like, "Thank you. Maybe you can focus on what you should focus on, and we'll do this." So, but yeah, there's 7 of us that are consistently around doing this work right now.
So you're not the cook. Is that what they try to tell you?
I'm not the cook. I'm not the cook. Because we kind of, so when we built this business, we were like, look, we just had a set of criteria that we were looking for, that we could pay living wage from the onset, that it wasn't going to be dangerous jobs, like low OSHA, like injury rates, that it was something that didn't have any barriers for folks who have a conviction of any sort. So we just had these set of criteria, and we found that the food industry, and especially industrial food production, was a good fit. But then when we brought in potential members, we were like, okay, well, what do you think of this idea? Should we go a different direction? And I think 3 or 4 of them already had food experience, because it is an industry that is accessible to people with a background. So a lot of the folks on our team already were really good cooks, had already worked in kitchens, had managed kitchens before. So that was really fortuitous for us, and it meant that, what limited experience I had was kind of dwarfed by our chef consultant and by the other people in the room. So it's just not a place where they needed my expertise at all, which was, like I said, very limited.
Okay. So, Camille, let me get it straight. You work for a consulting firm that helped these folks figure out what kind of business they wanted to go into, and then to help them to set up the business. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, so the consulting firm I started was just to promote workplace democracy and cooperatives in general, economic democracy more generally. So I do everything from field building to starting new businesses. But ChiFresh is, so the purpose behind ChiFresh was, there's, a lot of us out here who've been reading the incredible work by Dr. Nemhart and, the book that Camilles put out, and all the work that is going out there around how cooperatives can be a powerful source for economic autonomy and bridging the wealth gap, and in Black communities specifically. And so we saw so much talk about it, and I wasn't seeing enough of the buds of creating those businesses. And so what I wanted to just use some of the consulting, the time and capacity I had in this consulting firm to work with organizers on the ground who were interested in using cooperatives for Black economic development, and see if we could build something. So me and it was like 3 or 4 of us at any given time, a little development team of folks who were trying to figure out how we can help spur a cooperative that could provide quality jobs and economic autonomy and a liberatory workplace for formerly incarcerated folks in particular. So it was kind of like a project of our little development team to figure out how to get there, how to get it resourced, what the right kind of business model might be. And our advisory board reflected our eventual membership, which is formerly incarcerated Black women. And so we went through a whole process of being like, well, what's the right industry? How do we get started? And because we could have started in the beginning, bringing the potential members in, but folks don't have a lot of time and a lot of resources, and we didn't want to take up that time and resources saying like, hey, we have like an idea that might take 2 years without paying you. We wanted to get to a point where we were like, here's a solid business proposal that we have. You can take it in a different direction if you want, but we at least have a solid business proposal for you. You would completely control and own this autonomous business. We would have no control over it, but we would provide you support to get it launched. If you want the opportunity to own this business, we would give you the supports you need. And people, we actually, so our advisory board, one of the members, Colette Payne, she works in legal aid services here in Chicago, and she works on advocacy issues for formerly incarcerated Black women, primarily, or formerly incarcerated women. And she recruited one of our members, who then recruited three other ones. So they all knew each other. Like four of them, not all of them knew each other, but they all were connected by one or more people in that group. And one other person came, Danny came as well. And so the five of them came to the first meeting where I was like, here's an idea. And, we handed them out some materials. And those five people were like, you need to recruit lots of people because people will come and go. You don't know who's going to stick. But I don't know. My instincts were like, I don't know. Let's just go all in on who showed up. And so those five who showed up to the first meeting are the founding members of ChiFresh Kitchen, have stayed with us the entire time. And other people have wanted to join, but we don't quite have capacity to bring on other folks yet. So the people who showed up to that first meeting are the founding members. And to our delight, they all really liked the idea of doing a food business. They liked the draft business plan. And then we went through a business model canvas and planning process where they made it their own.
Okay, we're going to take our first break now. We'll be right back, everybody. Please don't touch that dial. Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes, and the program is Everything Cooperative. And this morning we have Camille Kerr, who is with a consulting firm in Chicago to help start ChiFresh, and Alison Powers from Capital Impact Partners, which is a CDFI, which she talked about earlier. And Camille, we were talking before we took the break about how this got started, and the first five people that came to the first five meeting are the worker owners and the starters. And it's mainly folks that was previously incarcerated, four of which are Black women, and you all allowed a man to come in too. Yeah.
It was funny. It's kind of a running joke because Vanny's awesome and a great part of the team, but it is kind of like the running joke is we let you in, but of course it's one of our purposes. So formerly incarcerated Black women have a 40 plus, I think 43 or 45% unemployment rate. So one of the parts of our mission was creating employment opportunities specifically for that population, but also, of course, the people who apply or who comes into the business, we're not restricting it, but that is part of the mission just because it's so drastic. If you look at formerly incarcerated white men, the numbers are like 17% unemployment rate. So we wanted to specifically look at formerly incarcerated Black women because they have by far the highest unemployment rate. But we also understand that there's barriers for everyone who's formerly incarcerated, and that's the mission is wider. But also we wanted to create a space where formerly incarcerated Black women felt like they could have a liberating space.
So Black women's stories are even worse. I have a stat that bothers me a lot. This 40% unemployment rate is awful. And when we talk about wealth gap, when we were talking to Allison earlier, the average white family has a wealth of $170,000 and a Black family has $17,000. But a Black head of household, a female Black head of household, their average net worth is a negative $6. So they owe more than they own. And so if you take that and add it to such 40% for previously incarcerated folks, returning citizens, it's awful. So I'm glad you took that demographic and say, okay, how can we create businesses for formerly incarcerated Black women? And you allow a Black man to come on too. Okay, that works. Good news. Good news. So what is ChiFresh? What is the business?
So ChiFresh is a food service contractor. We focus on prepared meals for institutions that offer daily meals to the people who they serve. So think about charter schools, well, schools in general, but, it's often harder to get into the public school market because folks like Aramark and Sodexo are in there. So we look at charter schools, nursing homes, a lot of nonprofits do programming where they provide a meal as part of the work that they do. And so most of our clients right now, we're talking to a local YMCA, we're talking to health clinics about health-related programming that they do. We nonprofits that have after-school programs that they provide meals with, stuff like that. We could do daycares. We haven't really targeted that segment yet, but our hope is to combine primarily charter schools and nonprofit programs. And then we're also testing out retail clients. So we have one coffee shop that we're providing prepared breakfast sandwiches to. It's a Black-owned coffee shop. A lot of Black-owned coffee shops want to provide breakfast sandwiches, but the ones that are offered are often have pork, and a lot of Black community does not eat pork. So we have a Black-owned chicken sausage vendor that we're working with to create these breakfast sandwiches that we're offering to primarily Black-owned coffee shops, but we might target a wider audience later. So that's the only retail client that we're working with right now, but mostly nonprofits and community organizations and schools, et cetera.
So have you thought about offering prepared meals to folks that have COVID-19 that have to stay home that you could drop off?
Yeah, so we have our main first grant so we did leverage the support that Capital Impact provided to get additional equipment and be able to scale up to take on a contract that Urban Growers Collective. So they're a local network of urban farms, of Black-owned urban farms, and they got a grant to address food insecurity during COVID. And their work to do that is to provide grocery bags of nutrient-dense produce. And then they wanted to expand that to also provide meals. So they got a grant from the Chicago Regional Food System Fund to alleviate food insecurity. And they used us as their primary subcontractor for those meals, us and one other co-op, Las Visionarias, and another Black-owned business, Majani's Restaurant, which is a vegan restaurant in the south side of Chicago. So the three of our organizations prepared meals for folks facing food insecurity, and that's been the bulk of our revenue during the pandemic. And the reason we're focused long-term on those other business models is because we don't feel like this type of funding will last long-term, and we want to be able to still feed our communities through one of the outlets where they get a lot of their nutrition and food, which is these institutions where they go to school or go to after-school programs or, in the case of nursing homes where they live.
So ChiFresh, I got Chi is for Chi-Town or Chicago, and what does the fresh mean?
The fresh means that our meals are freshly cooked daily. So this you're not seeing stuff that we prepared a long ahead of time, by a machine and sits in a cooler. This is food that hands that love food built and that day and brought to you with love. It's fresh food. I mean, and it's our ingredients are literally farm to table. Like we get a drop off from Urban Growers Farm where they picked it that day, literally like that day or the day before. They picked that food, got it to us, and we made a fresh salad or sautéed greens or whatever that's in there with in every meal we have local produce in.
You're making me hungry, okay? All right. Sautéed greens sounds really good right now. Okay, so that's the fresh part of it. And you're talking about that you may look at daycare centers. How do if these women and men have children, how do they take care of their children? One question. How do you transportation? That seems to be the two main reasons or hardships for families. So how do you handle that with the 5 people there?
Yeah, no, our team, multiple of our team are parents. Some of them have slightly older kids, but they, actually childcare hasn't, at least from what I've heard, we're there to support them with whatever their needs are to get to work. But childcare actually hasn't been something that's been brought up as an issue on our team. But transportation has. One of our members didn't know how to drive, and getting to where we are is quite a hassle on public transportation. But so I actually carpooled with her. She had her permit, so I just carpooled with her and let her drive there back and forth for the first couple of months, and she actually got her license last month. So one of the ways that we're doing it is just, it's 5 people. I don't know if we're going to be able to provide the level of, service to if ChiFresh has the resources, but it's 5 people. So we just meet people's needs, right now. Housing is another one, housing insecurity. So we help them apply for all the housing grants for rent relief, and we help them, because some of our members. One of the reasons that we got started early, we weren't planning to get started until now, maybe June or July or August, but we got started in April because folks got laid off and couldn't access unemployment for one reason or another. And they were like, is there any way we could get income through this earlier? Because we got started early out of necessity, and so with housing stuff, we not only could start, we're paying folks $18 an hour and with benefits right now. And so that helped with rent and housing stuff. But for folks who were housing insecure for one reason or another, we helped figure out what are the resources. Because there are some resources out there right now, but everything requires a little bureaucracy, a little bit of how do you fill out this? Am I choosing the right box for this, and is it going to get canceled? So we help them navigate all of the resources that are available as well. And so everybody's housing secure right now, and folks all have consistent transportation. And yeah, so everybody's getting there on time, and we're getting the food out on time.
Fantastic. Have you gotten any evaluations back from your customers?
Oh yeah, they said we're top shelf. Because we're trying to redefine institutional food, right? When people think of institutional food, they're like, "Ooh, that's not something that I want to eat," right? No. But I don't like that. but we want to show people that we have our ChiFresh burrito bowl, right, where we have rice and meat and beans and cheese and fresh vegetables and a pico de gallo salsa, and then our special ChiFresh sauce. And that's what somebody who's showing up for a program with a school or a nonprofit is getting. It's not a choke sandwich, as our team likes to call them, and a side of chips. It's real food that's nutrient dense, but that's also you look at it and you're like, I want to eat this right now. And we're doing on Monday, we'll start doing about 500 meals a day. So when we were talking to Allison, we were talking to Allison before we even had moved into our kitchen space. But when we got the grant, we were doing just 50 meals a day off of donations. And now we're doing 500 meals a day through various clients and that regional food system grant to alleviate food insecurity.
Allison, I don't know about you, but I want that burrito. Can I order
so hungry.
Can you FedEx one to me?
Yeah, I'm thinking, what's in my fridge for lunch? Is there anything that good? I don't think so.
It's wonderful. Allison, when you hear this, that they've gone from 50, with not even 50 meals, but let's say they at 50 meals a day to 500 meals a day, what does that do for you and how you feel about your participation in their success? Yeah,
it is so exciting, and it's really validating because, when we first read the proposal, it was, like I said, there's 2 rounds of the application process. So the first deadline was in February. And so when we first read it, it was still a concept, an idea, and it hadn't been implemented yet. And in a short period of time, with COVID hitting in between, it's gone from a concept to 500 meals a day. And so the fact that, we were able to kind of see that, which is a testament to their application, which was really clear and concise and outlined exactly what they were going to do. Because sometimes, unfortunately, I think people's good work doesn't come across in the application the way they want it to. So they really got their point across. We were able to see that, and just to see how it's grown, it feels so good. And it makes me want to get more money in this pot to disperse to other co-ops, because while we had 3 awardees this year, our second round was 11 folks, and all 11 of them, there's even more than 11 that should have been funded from the bunch, but I wish we had that, $1 million Google money to be able to give out and give everybody $200,000 awards, because there was just so many people, so many projects in that batch that were amazing. And the fact that this one rose to the top is really a testament to its strength, because there are just amazing things going on all across the country, and there needs to be a bigger platform and more dollars.
So what's going on in my head right now is, how can we support you guys in getting more money? Because 11 times 50 is $500,000. And if you gave them $100,000 each, you're talking about $1.1 million. And that would just be for this year, let alone the years coming down the pike. So how can we help to raise you gave out $100,000 this year. How can we get enough money to maybe give $1 million of awards for 10, 11, 12, 15 people next year? Wow. That would be nice to figure that out. I'd like to help you with that.
And Allison, so this round, the focus was getting the word out or engaging new audiences with the cooperative model. And I think part of the way we can draw resources to it is that focus is really getting. So since we've launched, we've gotten in NBC5 locally here in Chicago. We've been in the Tribune once, mentioned in another story, and we might have a story coming out this weekend on us in the Tribune, as well as Next City. Oscar, on the press side, Oscar kind of was like our capital impact on the funding side. He really early, Oscar Ravello at Next City wrote an article on us right after our launch that made more people want to reach out to us and learn about us. And Free Spirit Media, the 50 by 50 blog, and a number of other outlets have written about us, and we're trying to just bring this concept to more and more audiences and the impact that it can have. And NCB as well put something up on us as well. So that, I think that is part of it is really, spreading the word, and the fact that this grant focused on it is helping, I think, catalyze that, because all of our groups that won it, part of what we're trying to do is get that word out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, just to add, as a funder, it's a really great way to get familiar with the co-op landscape and to really understand the model, and the fact that, Capital Impact and the National Cooperative Bank, both of us obviously having deep roots in the cooperative movement. Last year we actually partnered with the Workers Lab, which is an amazing organization that's really focused on job quality and innovative models of work. And one of the reasons they partnered with us is because they kept getting applications for some of their grants from cooperatives, and they really wanted to understand more about what was cooperatives, how did they work, and how could they integrate them more in their understanding of a new economy, which I think they got. And now you see co-ops showing up a lot more in the final rounds of their applications. And so we're excited about this partnership. And this year it's been a great way to work with the National Cooperative Bank, which has been, obviously partners and friends and colleagues for a long, long time since our inception.
Well, I had said earlier that NCB has been a partner, matter of fact, an excellent partner in this whole Everything Co-op radio show. And their mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, especially in low-income communities like South Side of Chicago. So this fits right in with their mission and helping the reason they got started. But Camille, I'd like to ask you, why did you choose the cooperative model as opposed to the capitalistic model? Why the cooperative model?
Oh, I'm a cooperator through and through.
Why?
Why? I mean, one, it feels like the only fair way to organize institutions is democratically and sharing. I feel like, cooperatives reflect our best selves, right? Where in an economic system that's based on the values that we purport to hold as humanity, ones of cooperation and generosity and sharing and selflessness and care and love for one another. And the capitalistic model, it encourages our worst selves. It's like, okay, you're supposed to lie and win and all the things I tell my kid not to do. that's what's encouraged. So, I mean, this model, I feel like, is part of a larger push for a system that reflects what humanity is, could be, should be, who we know we are in our hearts. And I mean, I was drawn to it as a field because I was, doing civil rights and criminal justice work, and it felt like the underlying systems, the lack of resources that communities had, were such a major driver of all of the negative outcomes that we were seeing in communities. And so I wanted to look for what are the economic justice models that feel like they could alleviate and transform these communities. And I didn't find that much. I mean, it was just all programs where you were putting people in jobs that weren't, that were sucking value and wealth out of communities. And what are those solutions that actually replant the value and wealth and resources back with us in our communities? And cooperatives obviously rose to the top of what exists, the experiments that exist in creating this new type of economy.
So I like the ethical values of cooperation, and that is honesty, openness, social responsibility, and caring for others. Or I like to say caring for one another, the golden rule. So, yeah, it fits right in with what you're talking about. That's the stated principles, values of co-ops, and then the principles. So I'd like, you said you're paying people $18 an hour. How did you come up with that? How do you afford that? That seems to be high for normal people working in food co-op. I know McDonald's doesn't pay that, and some maybe, I don't know if people working in the kitchen of a restaurant would get that. So how did you come up with that figure?
Well, we picked a business model where the wages are higher, right? So we didn't pick a restaurant on purpose. We didn't pick, retail food on purpose because the business models in those spaces require the wages to be so low. But in more industrial food production settings, the wages can be higher. It's part of the model. And we also we looked at the financials and saw what was possible. So all of my time is subsidized by Upside Down consulting work. So my management consulting services we're not charging the cooperative for. So we just looked at the books and we said, what can we pay folks? And let them know, we'll have to get more to make this wage sustainable. We're going to need to get more and more business and grow in these ways. But we looked at the financials and we kept getting contracts, and they were like, is this possible? And we're like, yeah, for now we can make those wages work, and we can add benefits. And some of our clients right now, like the regional food system, we're getting paid $6 per meal, and that's, the rate that we're paying for labor is completely sustainable under that model. So we need more clients that look like, getting $6 a meal, or we just need to be more efficient in our labor to continue being able to pay this. And I think we're on the path to do that. So, I think it definitely helps having the management consulting side subsidized. It means we can inflate those wages. And all it means is that we're not getting paid too much as consultants. We're getting paid a reasonable amount, and so are the cooperators in the business that they own.
So there are 7 co-op principles. The first one is voluntary and open membership. So your co-op ought to be open to anybody. Democratic member control, the member control it, one member, one vote. But I'm getting to the third principle, which fits in here, is that member economic participation. Normally there's some fee to buy in, and they get a chance to spread the profits. They own the profits in this co-op. So they're making $18 an hour, but they have a chance, if the place becomes profitable, to share in some profits that really increase their wealth. Do you have that baked into your model?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's profitability, we'll have some for retained earnings, and then we will offer a dividend. I don't know if people will take it out as cash or if we'll put it into internal capital accounts. But if we're profitable, every year that we're profitable, there's nobody else who owns this business right now. So they will absolutely get dividends. And so, I mean, they can. Okay. That's why we're looking at wages. You can take it out as wages early, and I think right now for a lot of folks, because of the pandemic and how difficult it's been, like, it's nice to have that set wage. And maybe later they'll be like, you know what, let's like go lower on wages and then fight for that dividend at the end of the year and go for the growth. I mean, I'm not sure. I think it might be year to year how they think about sorting the money between wages and dividends, but we're in that process. I know one of our
wait a minute, hold on. I got to ask you another question. Go ahead. We only have a couple more minutes. So the fourth principle is autonomy and independence. The fifth one is education, training, and information. So what training are they getting, and do they really have the control of the business? Do they make the decisions? These 5 member owners.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're completely autonomous, and so they check me when I don't, whenever I don't. So I got checked yesterday because I ran with the momentum coffee with our coffee client a little fast, and was like, what do we do this, and they were like, you need to stop and see if this is something we want to pursue, and we do that with everything else. And they were like, this is not, and I was like, my bad. Okay, is this something we want to pursue? And yes, so and we were doing a real estate decision making, and I was like, what about this spot? And they were like, look, this is the first spot we looked at. We need to go through a process, and we need to choose, and you need to line up 10 of them. You can't we're not going to funnel into one opportunity like this. And so we slowed down. So, I mean, I think that it requires trust. They do. Some decisions they trust me to do, and other decisions they're like, if you're making a decision like this, you need to let us know what the options are. You need to lay it out clearly, and we need to make those decisions. So I can assure you that if I ever whenever as we're doing management consulting services, if I ever step out of line, they put me right back in it. But yes, they definitely know that they have control over this business.
And then there's cooperation among cooperatives, and so you have Capital Impact Partners, NCB, working with co-ops, and then with your organization, and then you're working with other co-ops, and then there's concern for communities. So we've hit the 7 principles of co-op, and if an organization is a co-op, it runs by these principles. And if it's not running by these principles, I say and declare it is not a co-op. So Alison Powers from Capital Impact Partners and Camille Kerr from ChiFresh, thank you so very much for your time. And everybody else out there, I really hope that you have a great week and live cooperatively. See ya.